SpaceX work hard for the first orbital flight of Starship, the colossal 120-meter-tall monster of SpaceX. All the preparations for the craft seems to be ready. The new Raptor factory is now rising out of the ground at SpaceX's rocket development and test facility in McGregor, Texas. Tasked with supplying Raptor 2 engines to the Starship program, SpaceX is laying the foundations for its rapidly reusable rocket. With the launch tower in the process of gaining its Mechazilla stacking and catching arms, a key part of recovering Super Heavy and Starships, along with their engines, numerous future vehicles are being staged at the production site, ahead of a busy 2022. The immediate focus is on Ship 20, with its static fire test currently scheduled for this week. Following a successful proof testing campaign for Ship 20, the next milestone will be loading liquid oxygen and liquid methane for a static fire test. The fine details of Ship 20's testing have not been revealed, with this vehicle being the first to sport 3 Raptor Vacuum engines. To date, RVacs have only been fired up individually at McGregor. The upcoming test, currently set for no earlier than Wednesday and still subject to change, will likely involve the 3 sea-level Raptors. Ship 20's full engine set involves RC-69, RC-73, and RC-78, with RC standing for Raptor Center. RV-4, RV-5, and RV-6 are the RVacs assigned to Ship 20. During the initial static fire test, one key test objective will focus on the thermal protection system, which suffered a minor liberation caused by the header tank venting. The vibrations of the engine's firing will provide additional data points on how well the TPS has been applied and secured to the vehicle. Booster 4 is waiting in line for its own proof testing and static fires, although this is not likely to occur until November. With its 29 engines, Booster 4's static fire campaign will likely involve several ignitions, with an increasing number of engines. The Super Heavy was removed from its orbital launch site mount, to allow for the installation of Mechazilla hardware to the launch tower. SpaceX has begun preparing its Starbase launch tower for the installation of a pair of giant arms designed to lift, stack, and even catch Starships and Super Heavy boosters out of midair. Progress towards giving the launch tower its arms has been made over recent days, with the carriage system moved over to a new staging point, at the orbital launch site. This set the scene for the lift and move of the first chopstick arm for installation onto the carriage. The second arm was also moved over on Monday. Once both arms are secured to the carriage, the entire system will be hoisted onto the tower. This event will set the stage for its first operation, likely to involve Booster 4 being lifted onto the mount. Should the system require additional work, the LR-11350 crane, nicknamed Frankencrane by SpaceX employees, could still be used. While Booster 4 and Ship 20's return points will be into the ocean, Elon Musk hopes for the first catch to occur during Booster 5's return to the launch site. SpaceX has now lifted, flipped, and staged all 3 components of Starbase's Mechazilla rocket catcher, including 2 giant arms measuring some 36 meters, approximately 120 feet from tip to tower. Currently hanging from both of SpaceX's largest Starbase cranes, teams must now install massive steel pins to turn those 3 separate components, 2 arms and a carriage-like base, into an integrated structure ready for installation on the exterior of the first Starship launch tower. It's unclear how long that might take, but SpaceX is wasting no time, and has already begun installing 12 guide blocks that will allow the carriage and arms to slide up and down, tracks affixed to 3 of 4 tower legs. Booster 5 is already being stacked inside the high bay, following the usual Starbase path of having the next vehicle ready to head to the launch site soon after the previous has launched. Its grid fins have already arrived and installed on Booster 5. This process took place after the booster completed stacking operations during Booster 4's high bay processing flow. Ship 21 is making good progress around the production area, with sections being prepared for stacking, a process that will take place inside the since vacated mid-bay. The rollout of GSE-8 to the tank farm has created room for Ship 21's stacking to occur. With numerous sections sporting a full coat of TPS, the nose cone for Ship 21 is already following that same path, with tiles being applied inside one of the big tents. Sections for Ship 22 have also been observed, with the common dome section spotted inside Tent 1. Meanwhile, the thrust pucks for boosters down the pecking order have also been arriving into Starbase, including the first to host the expanded capability of 33 Raptors. All these Raptor engines arrive at Starbase, after having been processed at SpaceX's McGregor test site. Currently, the engines are assembled at SpaceX HQ in Hawthorne, California, before taking a road trip to Texas for hot fire testing, on one of 5 available test stands. Elon Musk had already noted that Raptor production would increase, aided by a new factory at the McGregor facility, allowing Hawthorne to focus on RVacs and new design evolutions, for the Methalox powerhouse. This allows McGregor to produce the main stock of Raptor 2 engines, to cater for a large number of boosters and starships, each requiring 36 Raptor 2s in total, based on the 33 on the booster and 3 on the Starship, along with 3 RVacs. While this factory will still be some time away from assembling Raptor 2s, Hawthorne is already building the streamlined version of the Raptor, with the McGregor test stands being worked on in preparation for test firings. Centralizing Raptor production and testing at McGregor will also streamline the flow of Raptors to Starbase, removing the California to Texas leg for all engines except for the RVacs. Also, this production increase provided a fascinating scenario of how many Raptors SpaceX will require in circulation, given the full reusability of the Starship system. A large stock of Raptors points to a huge fleet of vehicles, as Musk has always envisioned. Roughly 6 months after the process began, SpaceX has installed the 7th and final custom-built propellant storage tank, at Starbase's first Orbital-class Starship launch site. Built out of the same factory and parts as the steel tanks, that make up most of the 2-stage Starship rocket structure. SpaceX completed the first 2 of those, ground support equipment GSE, tanks in April and wasted no time installing both at Starbase's Orbital launch site. However, after a strong start, GSE tank work seemingly halted for several months, and it wasn't until August that SpaceX first enclosed one of the then 3 installed tanks, with a sleeve designed to insulate their cryogenic contents. Since then, progress has picked back up and SpaceX has built and installed another 3 storage tanks over the last 2 months. That work effectively culminated on September 7, with the transport of the farm's 7th and final GSE tank, from build site to launch pad. Unintuitively known as GSE-8, after SpaceX chose to scrap one of the original 7 planned tanks. Earlier this year, the company wasted no time installing it shortly after its 2-mile trip down the highway. Meanwhile, SpaceX also continues to slowly fill the first 2 completed OLS tanks, with liquid nitrogen, serving both to test the tanks and pad plumbing, and to clean their interiors for liquid oxygen service. Ultimately, while a good amount of work remains, Starbase's first orbital-class tank farm could be fully ready to support its first super heavy booster-proof and static fire test campaign just a few weeks from now. Thanks for watching this video, and it's a super interesting topic. If you like this, make sure to subscribe. If you have any crazy ideas about what we should cover in next video, please comment it below, and we'll see if we can get to it. So thanks again for watching and goodbye.